Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, 042, and a beautiful morning to everyone watching today. You're tuned into Sunrise on ANEKE TV, where every sunrise begins with delightfulness, purpose. And bringing you today's share, I am Deborah Wakaba, coming to you live from our studio here in vibrant Enugu.
Good morning to you, our global audience. I'm Uche Osai. Wherever you are, at home, in your office, or in traffic, even making breakfast, thank you for letting us into your space. This beautiful Monday morning, we're here to refresh, inform, and motivate.
Yes, and today is Monday, 12th January 2026. And of course, we've got that full package for you today, where we've got our latest news, what's trending, our sport updates, and of course, that special sunrise to help us start our day.
So, grab that cup of coffee or tea. Relax, enjoy the cruise because the sunrise is set sail.
Yes, and today's sunrise will be kicking things off with our quote of the day. With was that thoughtful, was that inspired, was that offer insights with whatever we do to keep us well driven, stay focused, and be motivated.
Then, it's straight into the day's top headlines. All the key news updates that you need to remain informed will be shared, hot and tasty.
Yes, and right after that, we'll be giving our weather report covering cities across the southeast and beyond, so you'd know what to expect before you step out, or if you've stepped out already, it is to keep you throughout the rest of the day.
And later, we'll wrap things up by bringing you man of many parts, the sports oracle, the commissioner for enjoyment, and our business news update.
Yes, and now let's move over to our morning show inspiration segment for today. Now today's inspiration segment is coming from Aliko Dangote, a chairman of Dangote Group. And in his quote, he says, "Endeavor to work as hard as possible to attain a new aim with each day that comes by. Don't go to bed until you have achieved something productive." I'm going to take that quote again, coming from Aliko Dangote. And in his quote, he says, "Endeavor to work as hard as possible to attain a new aim with each day that comes by. So don't go to bed without achieving something that is productive." Now what this quote is actually saying is emphasizing daily on discipline and purposeful effort. So Aliko Dangote is encouraging us to set our goals continually, to work as hard as they can each day, and make sure no day ends without progress. Now this message is that success is not built overnight, but through consistent, through productive actions, that you are going to succeed. And no matter how small it is, that every day should be productive. So if you're ending your day each day, you should make sure it's a productive day and not a day where you wake up and waste your time, or you while away your time. At the end of the day, you go to bed without achieving anything for that day. And Mr. Ochi, I would like to know your thoughts on this quote.
Yeah, like you rightly said, success is a process. You don't just stumble on success, you know. It doesn't just happen. And if Dangote this morning is giving us directives on being sure that we work for that success, make each day count. And you know, since we stepped into 2026, we've been talking about making a plan for the year, setting agenda for the year, you know, draw your plans, plan each day in this year 2026. And Dangote this morning is letting us know that we'll have to work hard for success to come by, and each day has to count. You know, we did talk about, you know, in this new year that one has to take that step. And in taking that step, you don't need to see the end of the staircase. Just take that blind step of faith. Whatever you've mapped out, whatever you set out to do, be an entrepreneur. You know, you are planning on a new enterprise. Just set out about it. Don't wait for the perfect time. And we did say that it is the rough sea that makes a seller, right? The seller doesn't wait for the tides, the storms to come down before they set sail. No, it is those storms, those tides, you know, that give the seller the caps, the feathers, you know. So as an entrepreneur, you don't wait for everything to align. Set sail, keep moving, start today. And Dangote is telling you, let each day in these 365 days count. Like we do always mention, that when the time comes to take stock, the worst thing that will happen to anybody in this year is to be found standing at that same spot. Dangote is telling you that before you go to bed each morning, count your achievements for the day. And what are these achievements? The goals that you set out to attain by the end of 2026. Be a student. What goal have you set for yourself? Perhaps you set out to read 2 paragraphs, a novel, a new book each day. So Dangote is telling you to attain that success, that you have to take stock every day. You must have taken a step closer to your dreams every new morning. And as Dangote is prompting us, let me go to the marketplace as well, because I don't like to move around and not miss that place. You understand? So even if you're in the marketplace and you've been hawking, don't get deterred. What you do is set your plan, make move how to increase from hawking to perhaps getting a wheelbarrow. From the wheelbarrow, get a stall, and if you want to go into business, start from where you are. Life is easier now. With your mobile phone, you can advertise whatever you have. So it's no longer when you were to fill a stall or a warehouse. You just display what you have on your timeline and people would see. So start from there, and as you set about it, take count each day. Success don't just fall. If it happens suddenly, all of a sudden, like we always say in our parlance, the guy just blow. If the guy just blow, you will see the guy will blow out. It doesn't last. Any success that is not planned for, that you don't work hard for, or you say it's lucky, it doesn't happen by chance. The likes of Dangote are telling us that it doesn't happen by chance. That it takes meticulous planning, hard work to attain where they are, and we have the chance. There is still time. We are still in the early beginning of January, the first month of the 12th calendar year. So it's time to set sail. It's time to take stock every new day and see what you've achieved. And that's what Dangote is telling us this morning.
All right, thank you very much for that. And while you're being consistent, while you're being productive, please do remember that each new sunrise is a platform for us to grow. It is where we learn something new or try something different. And also, please let us know what this code means to you. You can drop your thoughts on our social media handles: Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, X, YouTube, all at ANEKE TV. Or you can call our phone number 070-3043-7110.
All right, and up next, we'll take a look at the weather report across major cities in the southeast today.
Yes, we'll be starting off with Oka.
Enugu is feeling warm and bright too. We've got sunny space with clouds drifting by. So sunglasses and cool vibes are a must. The afternoon will be toasty and clear enough to enjoy that stroll to the park.
And in Abakaliki, it's another sun-kissed morning with patches of cloud, little chance of rain and plenty of sunshine to power your day. If you're heading out, a hat and water bottle will thank you later.
And good morning, Imo State. Let's move over to Owerri. Owerri's weather is leaning towards warm and mostly cloudy. A nice break from the full sun, but still hot enough to keep the fan spinning. A comfy day ahead. Whether you're at work or on a weekend chill, please take note.
And in Umahia might see some light passing showers or cloudy bursts around midday, but don't let that dampen your spirits. It stays warm and generally dry overall, so it's a great day for indoor or outdoor plants.
So, wherever you are in the southeast today, stay safe, stay cool, dress light, but do remember that either rain or shine, we've got you covered. And this is your weather report here on Sunrise on ANEKE TV. We'll go on a short break and we'll return with more updates.
Advertise with us. Cover your event. Share your story. Call 070-3043-7110 today. ANEKE TV. Move with the world.
Corruption in Nigeria is not limited to isolated scandals. It is systemic, deeply embedded, and sector-specific, affecting critical areas of governance, particularly oil and gas, power, the judiciary, and local government administration. These sectors highlight how weak oversight, institutional fragility, and accountability gaps continue to constrain national development. Nigeria's oil and gas sector, the backbone of the national economy, remains highly vulnerable to corruption. Despite contributing the largest share of government revenue and foreign exchange earnings, the sector faces challenges of opaque accountability, weak audits, and repeated allegations of under-remittance. Independent investigations into the period between 2011 and 2017 uncovered unresolved revenue discrepancies running into tens of billions of dollars. Crude oil sales, fuel subsidy claims, and joint venture arrangements have been particular areas of concern, while reforms like the commercialization of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited and the Petroleum Industry Act were designed to improve transparency, implementation gaps persist. Recent international assets recoveries, including over $50 million repatriated from the United States, illustrates the scale of past governance failures and the slow pace of accountability. The power sector also reflects the impact of weak governance on economic and social development. Since 1999, Nigeria has reportedly spent over $16 billion on interventions in electricity generation, transmission, and distribution. Yet, supply remains unreliable for a population exceeding 200 million. Audits indicate contract inflation, poor project supervision, and regulatory uncertainty as major challenges. Debt within the gas-to-power value chain has forced government bailouts and emergency payment to suppliers. Recent steps, including settlement of legacy gas debts, aim to stabilize the sector, but experts warn that without transparent procurement, stronger regulation, and disciplined subsidy management, energy insecurity will persist. The judiciary is critical in enforcing anti-corruption laws, but public confidence remains low. Surveys conducted by the National Bureau of Statistics and the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime show that judicial officers receive some of the highest average bribe payments among public officials. Perception studies consistently rank the judiciary among the most corrupt institutions, particularly in politically sensitive or high-value cases. Prolonged trials, frequent adjournments, and the procedural loopholes contribute to public skepticism. Legal analysts argue that stronger judicial discipline, improved remuneration, and institutional safeguards are essential to restore credibility. At the local government level, corruption directly affects citizens' daily lives. Councils responsible for primary health care, education, sanitation, and rural infrastructure are often cited in surveys for routine bribery and mismanagement. The National Bureau of Statistics reports that more than half of Nigerians interacting with public officials encounter demands for unofficial payments, particularly in local administration, policing, and utilities. Weak financial autonomy, political interference, and limited oversight exacerbate these problems, reinforcing distrust in government. Across all sectors, corruption thrives where institutions are weak. Oversight is limited and consequences are uncertain. While anti-corruption agencies report thousands of convictions and hundreds of millions of dollars in asset recoveries, experts stress that enforcement alone cannot fix systemic issues. Economic studies estimate that corruption cost Nigeria billions of dollars annually and could erode up to 37% of GDP by 2030 if reforms stall. Beyond economic loss, it undermines service delivery, widens inequality, and weakens democratic legitimacy. Policy analysts now advocate for a governance-first approach, strengthening institutions, ensuring transparency in public finance, digitizing service delivery, protecting whistleblowers, and guaranteeing judicial independence. For Nigeria, the challenge is no longer diagnosing corruption, but sustaining the political will to reform the systems that allow it to persist. In a country facing economic pressure, security challenges, and rising public expectations, governance reform remains central, not optional, to national progress.
Still watching Sunrise on ANEKE TV. Now we're taking a look at the major headlines across newspaper today from The Nation, Punch, Vanguard and The Guardian newspaper.
And joining us this morning to give flesh to the news stories making headlines is Mr. Res Arum, our in-house analyst. Mr. Res.
Thank you for having me on the program this morning.
I hope you rested well over the weekend.
Oh, sure. I think it's been a very blissful weekend, and we are all up, sound, and very focused to achieve what we intend to achieve this week.
All right, and Mr. Good Hope, it's a pleasure to have you on Sunrise once more. How's the weekend?
It was good. Thank you very much.
You're good to go.
Yes.
Ready to kick off.
Very.
What will you be distributing this morning?
Well, from the time we start, and we'll see. We'll just, yeah.
All right, now to the newspaper today. We have The Nation headline that says, alleged armed discovery, Malami faces probe. And in the Punch paper, the major headline there says, 2026 budget twist, MDAs inject 3.3 trillion naira new project despite federal government freeze. And now on the Vanguard paper, the headline there says, Rivers crisis, why I say dogs are backing for Barra. And over to the Guardian paper. The Guardian headline reads, 2026 budget amid revenue uncertainty, vehicles, sundry expenses cut big slices.
All right, and as we know today, the students return back to school, back to books, back to the books. Schools across Nigeria reopen today after Christmas and New Year holidays as students, teachers, and parents kick off the second term of 2025-2026 academic session. Across the country, classrooms are coming alive again, with lessons, assignments, and exams resuming in full swing. Parents are making final preparations, from school fees to textbooks and uniforms, while hoping for a productive and successful term for their children. But the resumption is not without challenges. Rising education costs continue to stretch family budgets. Security concerns remain in some communities, and inadequate school infrastructure affects learning in certain areas. Students must also readjust to structured routines after the extended holiday break. Education authorities are urging vigilance, improved safety measures, and closer collaboration between schools and parents, stressing that coordinated efforts are key to ensuring a safe, smooth, and productive term for all learners nationwide. Mr. Reyes, the students' regimes today is back to school. But amidst resumption, we are looking at let's start from the children perspective before we build up to the bigger issue. The children who are returning to school after the holiday rise, the breaks, moving away from the classrooms after relaxing so much. And this morning, a lot of them wakes up by 10 o'clock. I have nephews and nieces who, during holidays like this, they don't want to be disturbed. When you want to wake them up in the morning, you say, no, that is holiday. Mom is holiday. Nobody needs to disturb us. We've been waking up early. But today, they had to be woken up by 5:30, some 6. new routine. What do you think from the student's perspective? I'm beginning to imagine while I was much younger, you know, and let me tell you a story. I visited a family one time. It was a day like this. The school resumed and they woke the little boy up to go and bathe for school. And next minute, you know, they didn't see the boy again. And the housemates, they were looking for the boy around the house. We moved from kitchen to store to rooms to car trunks, everywhere. Alarm was raised. A boy that was sleeping, that was woken up to go, you know, take a shower, and nobody could find him anywhere. We turned the house upside down. We couldn't get the boy. I don't want to mention his name. So, and we were all wondering, where would this boy be? We've searched everywhere, and then at one point, there's only one place we never expected to find him. Guess where? In the father's wardrobe. Lying in the wardrobe, covering himself with duvet and bunch of clothes, still sleeping. He doesn't want to go to school that morning. He's been used to the holiday. And today, I know that there were a lot of them.
Oh yeah, just like you said in your story, a lot of them are used to holiday. Meanwhile, you said the school resumed nationwide. Yeah, some schools resumed last week. I think the school my children attend resumed last week. They had their beginning of the term test throughout last week. So formally they resumed their academic learning from today.
Okay.
And of course, even to wake up early since that last week has been difficult. Even today, they woke up much late and they were hurrying to get them ready. So it's always like that. Children, the moment they have holidays, they relax so much. At the end of the day, they will start all over to begin to acclimatize to the school timetable so that they wake up early. You have to help them, wake them up early, and then engineer them, mold them to do certain necessary things for them to get to school. So it is like that. Children are like that. And that is why the parents are there and they keep doing what they ought to do. If school resumption is inherent with a number of factors, but let me actually hang on for you to call the shots.
Anyways, let me go to Good Hope. I don't know if you one time in your life you hid under the duvet, the wardrobes, or somewhere so you won't go to school or you won't resume.
Well, I think from my own end, I never had such experience because when I was growing up, school was something I looked forward to, you know, being at. I just wanted to go to school and do. But at some point, after the holiday, like we all experienced, or even some of us experienced, I can tell you that you wouldn't want to go back to school. But when you now pick up, you want to now do everything in school, especially from my days in primary school when and I can just remember those days when, you know, when you are being, okay, go and do this, go and do that so that you can get to school in the morning. Even in secondary school too, it was something I never had a problem with until it's holiday. So when it's holiday, you will now start finding and our holiday is not for rest though. Our holiday is for business. Whatever you can do to maybe bring some support to the house and other things. Not that you understand. So that's what we are. So we sleeping or saying, "Mommy, no, it's holiday. Let me sleep." Who is doing that with you?
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she laughs. It's
Like she never liked school.
like
I never liked school, but then growing up, we had to attend school, whether it's the beginning of after a holiday or during that. But I would say during secondary school, we're not looking forward to going to school. Like I and my siblings were not really looking forward to going to school, but we had no choice. So after the holiday, we already know school is resuming next week, and we're already prepared to resume together with others that are going to school next week. And most times, some people don't even resume this week. They start school like 2 weeks after the resumption
One
date.
month after.
Or a month after. Especially when it comes to tertiary universities where
So what should be responsible for such late resumption?
laziness.
It's just laziness.
Or they've not
And
removed the feeling.
parents will let such a child remain at home.
No, you know, the parents, I will tell you, are not the ones that are just. The students can even depends on the parents. Who, like, there are some parents who does not even care. There are some, like, if you go down to the grassroots places where there are schools, some parents will not even care. And this something I told you again. It didn't happen to me, but I've seen it happen to some other people, where resumption, the parents are not in support of the child resuming now, because the child may be doing business for them, the child will be going to shop, the child will be trying to get the money and do some good things for them. So that's one thing. So if the parents are not using actually, or per se, just if the parents are having the children, or the child is doing something for the parents may not want the child to resume week. There are some parents that will even discourage you, to tell you, next month you go, now next 2 weeks you start now. Some people will say,
What do we call such parents?
they exist though.
Well, some parents are not education conscious. Some do not even believe that education could take their children or themselves anywhere. They didn't go to school. They believe in trading, and they want their children to toe the line of trading, especially when they're teenage after primary education. Some parents, it's only in the recent time that you have after secondary education, parents now want their children to become business person, attach them to their shops, to their respective offices where they're doing their different businesses, and then, start training them on how to do whatever business the parents are doing. It is done. Then you even remember that these days there are some persons who stay beggars on the street. They give birth to children. Their children are not sent to school. Instead, they want to have these children, cling to them, tied to the apron strings on the streets, and continue to beg for alms so as to make their own family, live reasonably. So there's always a two side of it. Some parents actually do not encourage education. In remote communities, a lot of them who did not have an opportunity of seeing education or having education do not mind what happens to their children about education. That is just it. Until most recently, government, communities, people are beginning to, mass educate people to know that education is a bed of rock of development, and that children need basic education that will be better in whatever trade you want to train them if they have basic education at least. And so it's not about going to the university, it's not about going to tertiary institution, but it is like that.
All right.
Yeah.
Now that we've spoken to students, readjusting to the structured routine, after the extended holidays, there are other issues that we'll look at, like, say, the resumption we know is not without challenges. There is rising education costs that continue to stretch family budgets. Security concerns remain in some communities, and inadequate infrastructures affecting learning in certain areas. These are part of the issues that we'll see as schools resume today. Let's look at the issue of cost, the rising cost of education. I'm even hearing most schools are, with this resumption, they may hike their fees. This is equally challenging. Parents will have to buy new textbooks.
Yeah.
You may have to buy new uniforms as well.
Yeah, it is not a doubt that there's been tuition hike and other payments being made in school. You have numerous tags, payment tags in the institutions, in the primary school, in the secondary school, and of course in the tertiary institutions. They have various payment tags. So, and the economy of the country is biting. The economy has not been stable. Poverty is digging deeper into the economic environment in Nigeria, for instance. So you find out that the poor is almost getting poorer, and having children, especially a family that has about 5 children in school, is always difficult when school resume like this, because if you think about their tuition, you think about other things, you think about buying of books. You may have bought textbook during, because this is just the second term. You may have bought textbook during the first term, but you may need to buy other books outside textbooks, and then writing materials and other things. These are all these academic glossaries, groceries. You need to get them, and it is difficult. It is difficult in some families. In fact, about 60% of the families is always, you see parents crying, oh, well, the children have just resumed, and I'm trying to see how I can pay. And Nigerians have taken to private institutions. Private institutions, you don't go there without money.
So how are they going to cope in the changing times, given the economic situation that we are facing as a people?
It is difficult. I don't know. A lot of people even go about doing what they oughtn't. And some people who have gotten certain things on the ground, some people even sell their land, the landed property. Some sell their cars and so on and so forth to meet up with the education of their children. This is because no.
But when you were talking, you mentioned the issue of textbooks, and I think it's because of challenges like this that make government, start going into the policy of a situation where the reusable textbooks, with the generative situation where a sibling can no longer reuse a book used by an elder sibling in Nigeria, because they had to give assignments in that particular book. As your children are stepping up, you keep buying new books. And I think the situation like this that made government come out with that policy of reusable textbooks that we are now, we may begin to enjoy and see the profitability in it as well.
So that, it will help families.
Sure.
In terms of expenditure on books.
Growing up, growing up, I know a situation where I had to inherit some textbooks.
And that's
and
exactly,
it becomes challenging that.
That is exactly what
you
I
can't
wanted
see,
to tell you.
children don't seem to inherit this thing. You come home, you see piles of textbooks, and the younger one can't use it. They have to buy, they keep changing the textbooks, this and every time.
Well, I think in this kind of situation of textbooks and usability of the textbooks, I will tell you that in my own time, I had to use the textbooks of my elder siblings, and it really helped me a lot, because the knowledge, the information, the whole thing was passed down, and it was exactly what they learned when I think I'm talking about when I was 10. That was what I learned too. Now, when you come to the secondary school and you go to the tertiary institutions, you will also notice that right now it is the reusing of textbooks, especially, is not just because they need to reuse the textbook. It's just because the lecturers or the people who are selling needs to make their money. That's the point. Because it's not about them reusing it. It's now
so
about
in
making.
essence, what you're saying is that these schools, let's look at the primary, the secondary, tertiary, no longer care about the plight of parents.
Of course, they don't. Some of them don't, because that's why they tell you that all you need to do is that the same textbook, all they will do is to change some of the things. They don't even, change the back, of course, or maybe just twist some stories inside. That's the narrative changes, and then you have to buy.
Remember, it's not the schools that change them, but they're the authors, and the authors, collude with the schools or the Ministry of Education, as the case may be. Those who develop the curriculum, they collude with them to, see that the new textbook is put in use, which amounts to, making the parents go further to buy new ones. So, but these days, the policies are now, and the education ministries are beginning to think about that, because as at when I was in school, primary, secondary school, I used almost everything that my own siblings used. So it wasn't as bad as that. But until most recently it became so bad, and now we're beginning to come into realization that things are no longer rosy because Nigeria, the economy is hard and biting, and there's nothing else.
You know, I was going to ask you. You're a parent and you have children in
Yes,
school.
of
How are you coping with that challenge?
It's not been easy. That's exactly what I'm trying to tell you. It's not been easy. Of course, maybe after this program, I have to run to the school to ensure that I get the school fees across to them and all that, because I have not done that.
Okay.
And another thing, do you see the possibility of hikes influenced because of the tax situation in Nigeria? This new tax law that is causing a lot of misunderstanding in the society.
No, you see, it is not even about the new tax law. The new tax law, we have not even seen a greater part of it because it is still under controversy. But the hike has always been there. You know, corruption tends to have permeated into all the sectors, and even in schools. If you come there, it's not just about books. They tell you in school we supply toiletries, we pay for lesson, we pay for a whole lot of things outside the tuition. And at the end of the day, what they need to do is to just call a couple of parent-teacher association members, come there and then resolve and reach at certain level. Some of the schools, have dichotomy. If you go to the federal government schools, there are people who do not pay the same thing in terms of tuition with others in the same school. It happens in Nigeria. And if you go to the army schools and all that, there is still the same thing. The army children pay less, and then externals who come to actually get the education from there pay higher. So there's this dichotomy in payment of school fees and all other things. Some of these things that parents pay about toiletries and all that, some of the children of the people who own the school, they don't pay. So
they mount the bill on the people that, that are not part of this. That are not basically the people in the foundation of the school. I really get, and it happens a lot of times because talking about school resumption and what we've been seeing based on the economy and the tax law that, like Mr. Rex has said, we have not seen the greater amount of the tax law. But looking at January itself, it's always challenging because there's always we have just finished the December season, we have just finished the festive season, so students are now, someone even told me the other day that that they just finished Christmas and the season celebration, that she's looking forward to. She don't know how she can ask the dad and the parents this amount of money because they have spent a lot. They moved from Enugu to their village. From their village, they moved to another place. So all those things are money. Now, when this person returns to school, I was asking her, okay, what's the plan for January? What are you going to? She said, let's finish the Christmas.
But is it the student that will plan for January or the parents? I think the parents should have something said out. Not after doing Odogu during Christmas, So then in January, you're looking for where to get loan and order to finance.
That is the inherent thing in the life of the people from this part of the world. Where I'm talking about the southern part of Nigeria, whose population majority are Christians. When during the Yuletide, they do a lot of ceremonies. They spend a lot of money, and the Igbo man most often wants to travel from wherever he is to his village. And when he comes to the village, he hasn't been there for maybe 1 year or more. He must have to show his presence. And all the Umuada and all this, the king's men, kindred, and they all troop to your house, to say welcome. And in the course of that, they
Something
kept
between-
giving out.
So, and this will be at the detriment of your
At the
children's
detriment of the
education.
family, of course.
Yes.
Yes, that's
So
totally
how are
right.
parents going to cope this January? How are they going to raise the funds for
No.
school fees, textbooks, new uniforms, school shoes,
It
new
has
school
been,
bags?
it has been there like that. It has been there like that a long while.
And they find a way to
And they
survive.
find a
survive.
way to solve it. That's why I say that some people even sell or borrow, you called
Yeah.
about. There are people who are exposed to getting loan, and these days, getting loan from online loans is very easy now. So people just get those loans, pay, and then they start working very hard to repay such loans. And sometimes, when you even get the loans, you get into trouble and all that. So this is how they survive.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, it's January already. Schools are resuming, so they are looking for those means to survive because schools has to be paid their fees. Like you did mention, there are a lot of individuals who now attend private schools. Unlike the government school where there could be some palliative, subsidized education and all that. Like in anywhere you have smart school education, the government is very much interested in education. They are bringing in everybody. Well, for parents to go and do, what do you call it? Oble, and then come back in January. You go and do Oble and come back in January and you are running helter-skelter now that school has resumed. Is unfortunate situation, really.
Yeah, well, we could say that even the parents, there could be at fault about that. Like Mr. Rex has always said that this thing happens, but we can also want to tell the parents or not blame them really, because the children needs to have the feel of the season. I will tell you. Because if you are
the feel of the season at their own detriment.
No,
you should remember that yes, they will be going back to school in January.
It's not like you said. It's not up to them. You said it that it's not up to them. Okay, you meant that it's not up to them. You said it here that it's not up to them. It's up to the parents. So if the parents will not. The parents want to please the child. Some people's parents
Please the child at
yes,
the detriment of the child's future.
because the child wants to. This is the season. Other people are eating rice. Why are we not eating rice?
Let's
Why
see.
are we not having a good time?
So the same
Parents-
child will ask you, other children are going back to school. Why are we
parents-
not going back
parents
to
that will
school?
not direct the child.
Listen, parents will always give their children end of year fun. It is just like that. You see, if it's like a period of holiday, like in the Western world, the whites will always take a particular period in a year to go for a holiday.
Yes.
They may even borrow from the bank to do that. Vacation is very, very important in the lives of the Western people. And here in Nigeria and this part of the world, it is there, the Christmas celebration and other local celebrations, are very important. That is the time for you to unwind and then have fun and all that. So you don't look at money.
Yeah.
You might do it. You might do it have fun. You see, life is anything worth doing is worth doing well. So life is said to be worth living well when at a time.
If Obli is what doing well, the students resuming school is what
Some
doing
people
well
say
as
it's
well.
one time living. So
All right,
let's just-
there are other issues here. As the school resumes, the education authorities are urging vigilance, improves safety measures, and closer collaboration between schools and parents, stressing issues around security. And to bring this home, between 17th and 23rd of November 2025 alone, we had over 300 students who were kidnapped in 2 different schools around the northern states in Nigeria. We even got as far as the unity schools being closed, state governors closing schools, advising parents to take their ways away from school. And now it seems to, after the holiday, schools are resuming again. Let's speak to security of these children who are returning back to school. What measures have we put in place? How are we going to safeguard them against kidnapping, against other security threats that we face as a nation?
The responsibility of security is that of the government. Let's see, how are we? Okay, we as a government, we as a government.
It's a collective effort.
That's
because
exactly
they
what
are
I'm
urging
saying.
vigilance
It
from
is
everyone.
the responsibility of the government to ensure, especially in a situation where we have insecurity, growing in Nigeria. The government of the day should be able to plan how to secure the lives and property of the people, and then the children or school children inclusive. Now, the kidnap of children, kidnapping has become like a very big business in Nigeria. It's like kidnapping for ransom. Somehow, majority of the children kidnapped in last year, we have not heard about ones that actually died. The kidnappers have been, they have not really been brutal on these children in such a way that we have numerous deaths. If there is any, then it must be almost in error. So, government should track down kidnappers and bandits to the barest minimum so that children will be free to go to school. Otherwise, it's a wrong signal to our education calendar. Very wrong signal. If schools are closed down and the education is not ongoing, it means that we are losing out, because at the time we would have churned out people who would have been finally educated. We lost out those programs. So government should step up their security measures to ensure that children go to school and come back and they are free. Then in terms of networking or collaboration, excuse me, the schools, of course, in some schools where my children attend, we have security people there. Of course, the military school, so we have a lot of military people in and around the school. And then these days, we're beginning to have security, even local security people in various schools in the communities. Local security people, the people, the forest guard, the what do you call the other one? All of them are all security, recruited by the state and local governments. Then in various places they do hunters in the north. These are security outfits. So I think beefing up that security will help.
All right, and then we'll look at the Safe School initiative as well. I think it's time that we'll go back to the drawing board and, facilitate the enabling environment for this initiative to take off properly, as against what we witnessed before the closure of schools, especially in northern parts of Nigeria. But coming down to where we are, Mr. Rest, yes, I know for safety measures you took your students to a military school, right? But what about other schools around? What are we doing as a people? Are there measures in place, even if there is a security challenge? What is the response time, for those schools to be able to be reached by security operatives, especially the rural community, for example?
That is why I said these guards that's been recruited by the local governments and the state government, they have been trained anyway to be very responsive, respond quickly when there are security breaches. Down here, there doesn't be so much of kidnap, although at various places there are a few skirmishes. We had it is not even about schools, about ritual kidnaps. People who kidnap for ritual purpose. So sometimes when children are coming back from school in isolated track roads, they are kidnapped, and that turns to loss. It's not even about ransom. Nobody even asks for ransom. The people who are doing that are those who is alleged to be involved in ritual kidnapping. So the the government, the local government, which is the government nearest to the people, should be able to, of course, these days they receive very good money from the federation account, so they'll be able to recruit more security persons, local security persons, to be at these places and, of course, do surveillance on the roads and all that, so as to stem the problem of to go about ensuring there is security of lives and property, and children, school children inclusive.
Yeah, while you were speaking to safety issues, well, something occurred to me. I realized that in Nigeria and this part of the world, that mostly when I see school buses, speaking to the safety of these children, because a number of times when I step out, I see after school hours, I see a lot of these students, walking all by themselves along the road and all that. I know there are a lot of community schools, they go to schools nearby, but something did occur to me that when we see schools and school buses, is usually associated with private schools. We don't see that usually in government-owned schools as well.
Yes, government have not been able to provide any such transport, especially in this part of the world. I do not know about the other side, but children go to school on their own. Some transport themselves. Some are taken to school by their parents. For instance, I take my children to school. If you have the means. The important thing is that because of the fact that some parents, or most parents, have confidence that their children can go to school and come back, and nothing happens to them. That's why they allow their children to go to school and come back. And those others who are skeptical about anything happening to their children will always want to take them to school, and of course ask them to stay in school until they come back to the school to pick them up. So it becomes from school to home, from home to school, so that you'll be sure if anything happening, it might be such thing will happen before you. If there are some actions you could take to save and salvage the situation, you will take it. You have confidence that you are grown up. There's something you can always do. Yes. So that is the way it is. Transport situation for school children and students has always been that. In the tertiary institution, we have had the tertiary institution buses in institutions that carry people from one campus to the other. We have had that. I don't know how flourishing it is presently, but I know that some schools around here, around Enugu and the southeast, some schools I know used to have buses that shuttle between one campus or the other. But in terms of secondary schools and primary schools, public institutions, there are no buses that carry children. The private schools are the ones that you have. Yeah. So, and sometimes too, in the area of security, there are people who hire KK riders to take their children to school. And at some point, we have seen a situation where KK riders elope with their children and they are not seen.
And I was even going to ask how many families in this time can afford to, charter a keke that would carry their children.
Of course, very expensive now. But those days we used to have, but even the danger, scares most parents, that they find it very difficult to even ask a keke driver to take their children to school.
All right. There's another issue I'm looking at, the issue of infrastructure, school infrastructures. With the resumption of schools, are we still going to meet dilapidated structures or improve structures? Because this is still an issue. Recently, I still watched a documentary where students are sitting on the floor. I don't want to mention the state or community, where students are still sitting on the floor to learn in this year and time. People sit on the floor to be taught. You have roofs, leaking roofs, no well you know, you know, good, pleasing to the eye, no good infrastructure, a conducive environment for learning, are we still going to witness the same scenario as students resume?
Well, we have not completely become developed. There are situations where pupils stay even under mango trees to learn. I have done a research as a journalist, and in one of the research I found out that some places there were children that stay under the mango trees because the structure has been old and dilapidated, that if you even go in there it might cave in on you. So it is even better, the children are more secured under the mango tree than staying inside such structures. So, and there are places where there are no structures at all. And you find that, you know, they're trying to start schooling. Because, can you tell me, there are still places in Nigeria where you, before you see school, you go to distant, very distant places. Of course, when I was in primary school, I trekked like 2 kilometers to my primary school.
But things have so much improved since
Yes,
then. The money available to the subnationals cannot be compared to the time you speak of.
Yeah.
One expected tremendous improvement.
But then, even as at now, there are some very remote places that still go through this situation that we are talking about. There are. And, but just because of the fact we are in Enugu State, of course, we have not seen such tremendous improvement in the investment in education. We have not seen it. It is unprecedented. The Enugu State have been able to put in so much money in the budget for education, and it is materializing in the building of how many? 260 smart schools. So you see, it is tremendous. Smart schools. When you talk about smart schools, you are talking about when you have schools where you have digital, unprecedented infrastructure. It's not about building alone. Yeah. So I just hope that those smart schools will be fully realized, fully equipped, so that, of course, if it is done, it means there's a good school in all the nooks and crannies of Enugu State. And by the next 5 to 10 years, maybe in 15 years to come, you begin to have very smart graduates in this part of the world. That you'll find that they are going to do. I think you have something.
Yeah, the thing is that for the dilapidation and the infrastructure of schools, them meeting it the same way it is, I will tell you that from looking at what has happened last year, how Enugu State has been able, Enugu State government has been able to institute about 260 smart schools, I will tell you that there's this improvement that we are experiencing. But also, there's this school I went to recently, and I nearly, it was distasteful because it wasn't what I would even let my enemy go to. The school I'm talking about is not it's just a primary school, and it's not something that I will let even my enemy. You notice that some of the schools that are better, we could say, are the schools in town and the schools that we have in the metropolis. But even the smart schools they are taking good shape, like Mr. Rex has said. But we are talking about something that has to do with not just the structures, but the element of learning, the communication too, and the equipment, the teachers too, getting to communicate to these children, to these students, bringing in the best out of the children, because is what you give them is what is the best. The amount of best you give them is the amount of best they will bring out. So I'm telling you that it's not just about structures, because government should look into the foundational issues that are in education, especially the grassroots side. And it goes beyond infrastructure, I will tell you. It goes beyond infrastructure. It goes into training of the teachers too, getting them acquainted to what is happening, and them carrying on.
Smart school plus smart teachers gives you smart students.
Okay.
Okay, we've taken a look at parents having financial pressures and also anxiety of security. Now, when it comes to students, now problems that students faces, not only the primary sector but also the tertiary institution. Now they are being introduced to another curriculum, because this is another semester or another term for primary students and the rest. Now, another problem that these students face is when it comes to learning gaps. Now, where they are being introduced to something else, now they find it difficult to comprehend, or they find it difficult to learn. But instead, I'm going to say that for them to, in order for them to move ahead with what they are being taught, like gradually, like you said, your children last week, Mr. Rex, that they started with and then they call it kickoff test. Yes. What they've learned
BOT.
From yes, they call it
the term test.
Beginning of the term test. Yes,
because they have done.
Because they have done. Yes. So in that way, you can gradually remind them of this is what, and then make them be open to a new curriculum, and this is what you're about to see this term, and in that way the exhaustion for students, they will gradually pick up. So that's what I also have to say concerning this.
All right, we'll go on a short break, and when we return, we'll go into the news details, the news headlines and analysis.
Advertise with us. Cover your events. Share your story. Call 070-30437110 today. ANEKE TV. Move with the world. Welcome back. You're still watching Sunrise on ANEKE TV. Now we'll be taking a look at our newspapers for today. Now in today's paper, coming from the Vanguard headline, the paper here says, "Why I say dogs are backing Fubara." And then the Guardian paper says, amid revenue uncertainty, vehicle sundry expenses. And also in the Nation paper, where it reads, Malami faces DSS probe due to the alleged armed discovery. Now today's paper is starting from the Nation headline that says, alleged armed discovery, Malami faces DSS probe. Now, the former Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami San, is facing a fresh investigation after operatives reportedly found arms and ammunition at his country home in Kebbi State during a search by the Economic and Financial Crime Commission, EFCC. And the discovery has been handed over to the Department of State Services, DSS, for a deeper probe because the items found fall outside EFCC's mandate.
All right, looking at this headline this morning, for me, one may say it calls for more investigation, and would say naturally say kudos to EFCC for doing their job, continuing investigating why the matter is still in court, which is where I usually have issue with our approach, to investigation, litigation, and media trials. One would expect that by this time that EFCC have their case put together, but be that as it may, where they are still carrying up more investigation, I suppose, as information is, coming out, they are investigating going further. But this morning, the emphasis is no longer on issue around money laundering, or other corruption charges, but issues that has to do with security, where they say arms were discovered in his country home in Kebbi State. Now, one thing that we are not told in the news is the caliber, the quantity, and the make of the ammunition that were discovered in his country home. But why, for me, why make it public at this point in time? EFCC have done the right thing by inviting the DSS, who are supposed to take up the investigation. But why come to the public with this information when we know that there is no conclusive investigation on this? For me, on its own, this may hinder proper investigation. If this could lead to other, sources But now they hearing this information, they will be taking cover as we speak. Mr. Rest, I don't know if you have a different opinion from
I want you to understand it from the perspective that the information you have is the one that they do want to let you know. You see, sometimes if there are information that could hamper on investigation, they'll keep that behind. The fact is, we want to tell the world that arms have been discovered in somebody's house, and that person is not a security person, not a police, army, DSS, or any of the paramilitaries. So what is he doing with those arms? And they are not arms. They said arms, which means it is not just maybe one gun. It is not about hunting gun or probably the licensed gun which one could be licensed to keep for security reasons in his house. No, it said arms, which means that it is more than one. So it could be many. The information that we are given is not conclusive. So the investigation must have been ongoing. I do not know. Malami is a lawyer. I do not know whether he's a hunter or he's a policeman or a military. Yeah. And I do not know what arms are doing in his house. And I do know that his children are not military personnel. Even if they are, their arms are supposed to be in the military bases. So I don't know what the arms are doing in his house. So want to know whether these arms were planted to indict him or whatever, because anything could happen in a corrupt Nigeria. Anything could happen in a corrupt Nigeria. Therefore, he should also, be answerable to that if arms are found in his house.
Mr. Rest,
yeah.
Mr. Rest, what I'm asking, don't you think that, yes, we commend the fact that investigation is ongoing, perhaps it's not a hunter's gun, another, we are not told, we are told arms, but I'm saying, is this not a media trial? And you don't see this impeding the investigation. Do remember that there was a point in Nigeria in around 2015 where Dasuki, was said to have stockpile of ammunition, being a national security advisor that left office, that a stockpile of ammunition were found in his environment or under his custody. But till date, we don't know what became of that very issue. Amongst other issues that were, investigated, tried, we didn't know the end of that issue of ammunition that were found in his custody. And again, you are seeing the same scenario here, where why leak it to the media if this is not a media trial?
Well, what do you mean by media trial? Coming out to the media, it means that you are now saying that security issues should not be brought to the media.
No, that's not what we're saying, because there's no conclusive information.
Excuse me, the journalists are out there to scout for news. Remember, sometimes it could be an information that a journalist gets, and he goes in to find out from the agencies. The agencies will say, yes, we found. They'll just concur. Maybe a media person may have come, a journalist will come and say, we have it in good authority that you found so and so thing in the house of the former attorney general. How true is this? And of course, a responsible organization will always tell you it is true. So the fact that they said that is found, it does not guarantee or snowball into media trial. You see, when it is media trials, when you begin to say a whole lot of, that is exactly what you said, that most of the information were not given to you. When they give you those information, that's when you are now giving out for people to now try the persons involved in the problem. So, but the information is not loud enough, big enough, holistic. The information is just arms were found. And if, after investigation, it is upon the journalists to follow up. You see, developing stories in Nigeria, our colleagues don't follow up developing stories. Sometimes they allow certain stories to die natural death because somehow they might not think there's something to gain from that. Breaking the news is more important to them than any other thing. That way, they'll couch a very sensational headline, and that solves it. The papers sell online, and as the case may be.
All right. So we'll still continue to follow up to see how this is brought to a logical conclusion, because if the DSS are invited, one would expect that prosecution should follow suit if, as the Attorney General of the Federation, who is the custodian of the law, is keeping ammunition that is not licensed and a whole catch, if possible, leading to inviting the security agencies to take over the investigation. One would expect that at the end of the day, the real thing, the good thing and the normal thing be done if he is found culpable. Again, let him face the law. Deborah.
All right, thank you very much for that. Now over to the Vanguard paper, where the headline says, "Why I say dogs are backing Fubara." In Rivers State, Governor Similai Fubara has publicly addressed the intense political crisis unfolding amid impeachment moves against him and his deputy. Speaking at a church service marking Armed Forces Remembrance Day, Fubara explained that his earlier comments about dogs barking when they don't understand was a metaphor for critics reacting without full understanding, and emphasized his calm approach grounded in faith. He urged residents to remain calm and insisted that peace will return to the state despite ongoing tensions with the State House of Assembly, which has initiated impeachment proceedings against him and his deputy over alleged misconduct.
All right, Mr. Rice, you're an expert on the reverse issue.
I don't know what you're talking about when you say I'm an expert. I'm just your analysis. I do my analysis based on my perspective.
Yes.
So, and the facts available. So, well, Fubara has said because people misunderstood when he said dogs are backing. They misunderstood him and felt that it's a derogatory remark on him. So, but he has cleared the air on that. That is a mere figurative statement. That he figuratively said that those who do not know what the problems are, continue saying things they don't know.
All right, so very well said. Our position on this is that our leaders, be it political leaders, religious leaders, so far as you find yourself as a leader, should be mindful of the words they use against one another and in the public. We should always remember history. When you remember the issue between the Tutsi and the Hutus, it was just whistling issues, name callings like this, that degenerated to a decimation of a good population of human beings in that country, what we call genocide today. So our leaders should be mindful of their language. Thank you.
All right, that is all for today's newspaper review here on Sunrise. Now we'll be moving over to Good Hope to give us the sports update.
Thank you very much, Deborah. Like we have seen, Nigeria scaled through the weekend with a win over Algeria. That was the match we all looked up to, and that was the match we all were expecting to see. Of course, it may not have been the best of the performance, but we could say that against Algeria, to play that kind of game against Algeria was something. Mr. Rest, you watched the game. Did you see what we had to come up with? I'm still going to come to Mr. Uche, but
let me to come to me. I didn't watch the match, but congratulations that Nigeria won.
You see, I have always stood my ground when we are talking about the AFCON and the performance of the country in Nigeria. The Super Eagles have excelled. You see, it is on record today that the Super Eagles, this is the first time in a tournament that they have played 5 matches in a row without losing or having a draw.
Of course.
So it is on record.
Yes.
And I earlier have said in these sports updates
Yes, yes.
that Nigeria improves with every match, that they are growing. The
Yes.
team is just getting adopted to good football.
Yes.
You see, when we were talking about Algeria, we were thinking that it's going to be Waterloo for Nigeria.
Of course, I was seeing the match as something that Nigeria would really suffer, but seeing the gameplay, the midfield. Now, if you see the newspaper headline of sports, you're going to see that Iwobi being in the midfield. Like I told us the other day, that what the national coach, what our Nigeria's coach Eluchele did was to reinforce his midfield. There's no better football than the midfield football, and that was what he did. Look at what we have in the newspaper. Line breaker, it will be pass, masterclass, driving past the midfield was what changed the whole game, and Iwobi was not even subbed at all out of the match. Now, Mr. Che, what do you think about looking at Iwobi from his days as an Arsenal player, when he was an Arsenal player, and can you say that he right now he has improved so well, looking at the current situation that surrounds him as a player?
Definitely, if you look at the number of experiences, the club that he has moved from, you talk about Arsenal, Fulham, it's expected that he is a player that has matured. He's no longer the young kid that you saw at Arsenal. You know, he has gathered mileage, you know, playing for both teams.
Yeah.
But coming into this very AFCON, of course, he has played for Nigeria in so many occasions, but coming into this very AFCON, we've seen a more mature Iwobi. But I know, like I did mention the last time we spoke about the Super Eagles, I give kudos to the coach, you know, who has brought out the best in our midfield. And even though I tell you I didn't watch that much, you know, but from the little plays I see of it, I still give kudos to him. I did tell you that you cannot win this very AFCON in Morocco without that midfield being on point.
Yes,
Whenever you see that midfield is destabilized, be rest assured that you are not coming at tops.
Yes.
But kudos to the
Kudos to-
Super Eagles, and we are still expecting tougher challenge. We are playing Morocco next.
We are on
The host.
by
Host
Wednesday.
community.
Yes.
No,
Morocco is good.
one thing is when it comes to the resilience, you know, and the psychological bravery of our players, you know, that is not in doubt. I know they would overcome, and when it comes to the home crowd and all that, I know they are mentally strong to withstand that. So even though it's going to be a keenly contested match in the field, you know, given to the Moroccans, you know, the Nigeria, I always say, find it difficult with North American
But
teams,
just
North
like-
Africa.
North African team, sorry, you understand, but we've seen a team that is coming into its own.
Yes, we've seen a team that is coming into its own, and by Wednesday, Nigeria is going to play Morocco, and it's going to be something that we are expecting. We're expecting the best of it. I think that's how we are going to take it this morning on Sunrise Sports. Thank you very much. Over to Deborah.
All right, and we are moving over to the business update, starting with the Nigeria Stock Market Exchange closed on Friday, January 9th, 2026. The Nigerian exchange continued its impressive start to the year, sustaining an 18-day bullish streak. The market was buoyed by renewed investor demand, particularly in the industrial and consumer goods sector. The all-share index ASI closed at 162,298.08 points, an appreciation of 0.93% from Thursday's close. The market capitalization ended at 103.78 trillion naira, gaining approximately 958 billion naira in a single day. The market breadth, which is positive, with 48 gainers against 28 losers. Trading activity will have over 642 million shares that were traded across 43,816 deals with a total value of 18.52 billion naira. Leading the gainers on that day is Industrial Medical Glass IMG, which closed its books on that Friday at 35 naira 20 kobo, making a plus 10 positive adjustment. And then leading the losers again on that same day is Aluminium Extraction, known or traded as ALES, which closed trading on that day at 19 naira 10 kobo, making a minus 9.91 negative adjustment. And then looking at the Naira performance as at Friday, January 9, 2026, the Naira showed relatively stability with minor fluctuation across both the official and informal market, supported by steady liquidity. The official stability at the Nigerian foreign exchange market, the Naira opened at 1,424 Naira 84 kobo and maintained a tight range throughout the day, closing near the 1,426 mark. And that is it for the Nigerian stock market update. But you are aware that the market has opened this morning and trading has commenced. But please, before you make any investment into the Nigerian capital market, please do consult a financial expert due to the volatility of the market.
All right, thank you very much for that. And yeah, that is all for today's edition on Sunrise on ANEKE TV. It's always a pleasure having you on our show. Please do not forget to follow us across our social media platforms, Facebook, X, TikTok, YouTube, all at ANEKE TV, or call our phone number 070-3043-7110. I am Deborah Wakaba.
And thank you, Mr. Res Arum, for those in-depth analysis, especially on school resumptions and then the issues on the news headlines this morning.
Thank you.
And the man of many parts, Mr. Goodhope, it's a pleasure to always have you on Sunrise.
Thank you very much.
And I am Uche Osai. Remember, you're not here to be average. Be unique. Keep watching ANEKE TV. It will come your way same time tomorrow. Bye-bye.